Good morning, guys. So today we'll just learn about, we last time we learned about like creating the package and stuff. So today we learn about how to debug the content and how to add packages and stuff. So I'm just deleting this particular package, whatever I just created. So let's remove it. Yeah, so first of all, the best tutorial page that you could go with is like the Scala documentation, which is available in docs.scalalang.org, or you could go here. So this is like when you do Google search, when you try for Scala tutorial, so this would be available in second one, right? Scala documentation. So among all, I'm actually going with, so by default it comes with the introduction page. I'm directly starting with the basics page. Here it decides about like how to write print statements and val and variables and stuff, right? So let's go ahead and create our project. As we see, first of all, before you start getting into the project, it's recommended to create a package. Package name typically starts with com dot and your org name and stuff. For our simplicity, let's try creating sample learning as our package. So guys, my recommendation, always use small letters for package name. So click on OK, it created a package. Now right click here, new, and you can go with Scala class. So when you create this Scala class, three things would be available: class, object, and trait. I'll explain in detail about these things later. Let's first create this object. Let's call it as so Scala main. Right click OK. Now a Scala main project got created, right? So in order to first of all, like before you write a print statement and all, you need a starting point for your application to start with, as you see, as most of the languages do. So Scala main method is the one which is like the trigger point for any of your projects. So in order to define a particular method in Scala, so you just need to click on define, like you have to, it literally defines your particular method. So all you need is just define and the name of your method, let us say main. So as you could see, right, so let me just redo it. When I type main, it is actually telling me, so would you like to, it's recommending the template for main, so you can just go ahead and create it. Let me just give a brief on how a method signature is. So define is specifying that this is a particular definition is for a method, and this is the name of the method. So whatever you write over here are the input parameters, and colon, and post that this is the return value, right? So and just in order to test how a method works, you could just define another method which would just do multiply, right? So in order for multiply to work, you need x value and y value. So you could just write x and y, right? But make sure you define the type. So in Scala, the way you define a particular input variable is, it's not like it. You need to write it in post, put a colon and specify that I'm expecting x to be a int and I'm expecting y to be a int, right? So now again, like my return statement, again, when you multiply two integers, it results in an integer. So you just need to write it this way. As you see, it is throwing an error because you are not writing any return statement. So you could just write return x into y, right? So that's it. We had written a simple multiply statement, and okay, yeah, sorry. You just need to specify equal to, right? So then, yeah, return x into y. So we are good. Right, so this is how you would create a method. First of all, let us see how we could actually use it within main method. Let's start with our first hello world program. Say just hello world. Yep. Now in order to run this, all you need to, as we see, that main method is the one which is the starting point for all the things. So just right click here, click on run Scala main. You see, it actually creates hello world, right? So now just in case if you are doing it for the first time, it would, system would actually might load it for some time, so don't worry about it. Since I already created another package, I deleted it for you guys, so that's why it came faster. But otherwise, the system will take some time to compile it, and then it would actually go ahead and proceed it. Now let's learn about values and variables. That is what he was explaining it here. So as you could see, in Scala, you don't need to specify the type. Like there are types where system would automatically interpret. Let us say when I actually specify that x is equal to 3 and y is equal to 5, right? It automatically interprets that x is of type integer, right? So the way you just need to just type x here, see, like it is specifying that it is of type int. So these are like the implicit conversions that x and that Scala would actually provide. Let us try using it. Let us write our multiply method, right? So hello world, comma, right? I'm testing multiply value, right? So in order to test it, all you need to do is just plus and then you click so this dot multiply our method and then pass these parameters 3 comma 5, right? So now what we would expect hello world testing multiply value is like 15. So let's right click and run. That's it. So like see, it's actually showing the output rightly. Now, so as you see, I'm defining both x and y as values instead of variables. Let us see if we can just modify them, right? So let's reevaluate x with say 10 or something. Yeah. But if you could see, it is throwing an error. It's saying reassignment to val. So reassignment to val is kind of not possible, right? Like as you see, whenever you define any variable with x or y, you would actually create immutable variables. So immutable in the sense you will not be able to mute them, you will not be able to change the reference, or you will not be able to change the value in case of the constant ones, right? Like so that's in order to make it like reassignable, all you need to do is just convert val to var, right? So whenever you define it as a variable, that is when you could actually create or you could reassign the value. But when you are defining it as val, you will not be able to do it, right? So now that I have again like replaced the value of x to 10, now let us see what would be the value of our multiply. Guys, so as you see, whenever you just run it, it would automatically appear over here. So you can just click on run. It would just run the value. Okay. Oh, now this is interesting. Okay, yeah. So instead of 3y, I should have actually placed x and y, right? So these are the variables that I would want to pass. Now just click on run statement. Yep, it runs and it creates 50, right? So good, our programming works. Now I'll just give a brief on debugging mode, right? So just like the way you clicked on main, so there is another thing called debug mode, right? So before you go ahead, and I just want to, let us say I want to evaluate these values before I just want to see the values of x and y before the print statement works, then you can just click over here, or let us just create another value called z, and the value of it is like multiply x comma y, right? And I'm just populating the value z here. So let us say I want to make sure like the value of z is coming correctly, right, before I'm kind of displaying it. So that's why I'm just putting a debug point to check the value of z before I'm actually doing a print statement. All you need to do is just go ahead and click on debug mode. So when you work in debug mode, so you could see it stops at debug point, right? So here, these are the things that we could go with. Okay, guys, I was just explaining about the debug point. I just placed a debug point over here, right? So once the debugging is kind of started, like you could actually see all these values and variables, right? So x is equal to 10, y is equal to 5, and z is equal to 50. So now if at all, you can just hover these values, right? And it automatically tells you, or let us say you just want to try out multiply options. All you need to do is just click on add variable. You would like to see what will happen when you want to multiply like 6 to maybe 8. So see, the value of multiply 6 to 8 is kind of 48. So this is the advantage of debug mode, like where you could try out things without actually affecting the particular project line, and you could even see the value of these variables, right? So you can just hover on any of these variables. It will actually tell you what is the value at that particular instance, right? At this particular run. Now that is the advantage of debug mode. How to navigate in debug mode is like, if at all you want to go to next step, you have to use this. So yeah, we will go in detail for the additional stuff. Okay, so now let's play it, or let's continue this. So when you click on resume a program, so you could just, it would automatically come over here. Let's try creating 2 debug points in order to learn how debugging work, right? So now let us say I place 2 debugging points over here. Now, again, just like the way I'm executing main, so you can go here and click on the debugging mode, right? So when you click on this debugging mode, as you see, my first debug point is over here. So the system stops at this particular location, and X is kind of 3, right? Now, when I click on the play, so it actually looks for the next debug point, so which is our print statement, and it would automatically navigate over here. So let's try clicking this. As you see, it automatically reached to the next debug point, and when you click play again, since there is no other debug point, it automatically prints our value. So this is the debugger mode. You can go to console to see the output. So this is the output that is actually throwing. Now again, go back to the debugger mode. Let's again write kind of debug, right? Now the point is, I don't want to go right. So I just want to see how the values are kind of, I just want to go step by step, right? So I'm at Y, right? I would like to know how the statements would work when I move to X. So in order to go to the next step, right? So this is what you have to use. There is something called step over. You can just go ahead, step over. So step over would actually take you to the next statement, so that you could actually see the value of y, which is equal to 3, and x value is equal to 3. So see, you are still at this debug point. X you haven't actually assigned. So now click on the next step. When you click on the next step, yep, see the value of x, now it turns to 10, right? So yeah, so this is like the live versions of it. Now the value of x turned to 10. As you see at this particular step, the value of x is kind of 3. The very moment we executed this step, yeah, it came to 3. Now, so here is the interesting thing. But to compute the value of, so if I click on next, it will not even, let us say I want to, to see how the multiply is kind of working. Right, so there are 2 ways of doing it. Either I can put a debug point over here and click on play, so it would automatically take you to next level, next point. Otherwise, so there is something called step into. So just like step over would actually take you to the next line, step into will, let us see if we add any additional methods. So when you click on step into, it will automatically take you to that particular method. See, you just stepped into it. The value of x is kind of 10, value of y is equal to 10, and currently you are into this statement. Okay. Now, if at all you want to come back so let us say you already stepped into a particular method, you just want to come back to your original statement, you can just click over here, step out. So the step out would actually take you back to this particular variable. Now let's just move on by taking step into. So yep, when I like stepped out, and when I go to the next line, so the value of z is kind of 10, right? Either you could click play here. Now the debug console and value of it. Yeah, so this is about the debugging point, right? So we learned about how to debug the code, right? So which is very in need, like when you really have a big project in place. So it's kind of uh, mandatory to go in a debugging mode in order to do the testing, right? So that's all for this tutorial. Like we learned about the debugging point, and we'll go in deeper of the basic statements in the next session. Okay, thank you.